between economist impact and the Nippon Foundation. So before we jump in, let's just take a brief moment to envisage what we mean by a global ocean free from the harmful impacts of pollution by 2050. That means an ocean free from the harmful impacts of plastics, of nutrients, of all sorts of wastewater, of chemical, industrial, municipal runoff, and of the cumulative impacts that all of these pollutants have on the ocean that we don't fully yet understand as the ocean warms and becomes more acidic. So this is a vision that is unashamedly very ambitious. And it's also now the subject of a proposed UN Ocean Decade program to be co-led by IOC, UNESCO and UNEP. Now these two agencies can lead, but they can't tackle ocean pollution alone. Achieving a vision this ambitious will require a concerted global effort involving all of you, member states, the scientific community, data collection agencies, business, investors, local communities. So the purpose of today's discussion is really to hear from you. We want to know how this proposed UN Ocean Decade program can support your ambitions towards a global ocean free from the harmful impacts of pollution by 2050 and support your actions. Today's will be a highly interactive discussion, so following some opening presentations to set the context, we're going to ask for your views about what you're missing in your efforts to tackle ocean pollution, what you would like to see from this proposed UN Ocean Decade program, and how it can support you in your efforts. And as a reward for your contributions, if you stick around till the end, we'll be serving high tea on the lawn outside. So please do stay and join us for that. Now, to kick off the discussions, please welcome Susan Gardner, Director of UNEP's Ecosystems Division. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. And I love events like this where we're sitting at tables, we're encouraging interactions, we're looking to all of you to engage and contribute. And so I'm very much looking forward to this event. You know, I'd like to start out just, with these opening comments to maybe provide like some examples of sort of how this is working. And I think we could do that looking at the wider Caribbean, where countries are working under the Cartagena Convention Protocol on land-based pollution, and they've succeeded in cutting nutrient flows and wastewater flows into the sea. They've succeeded in having biodiversity and fisheries start to recover, being able to see that happen. Of course, that's not easy, but it does show it's possible. It's possible when science guides the action. And that, leads us to why all of you have come here on these busy schedules today. Too often, we're seeing successes that are isolated because maybe we can't look at this through the whole global picture, or it's hard to compare progress across regions. But this is the opportunity we have today. We know that marine pollution is not just a single issue problem. It stems from the whole range of things that we've been discussing in this UNEA: plastics, wastewater, nutrients, chemicals, resource extraction, even noise and light. And these pressures interact and they accumulate and they travel from the land to the coast and out to the sea. They touch every aspect of life. They undermine food security, they can damage ecosystems, they have impacts on our climate, and they erode the resilience of coastal communities. So it has impacts for people. But we have strong instruments, we have conventions, and we have partners. They tackle a very important slice of the problem. But like we heard at the Blue Economy and Finance Forum in Monaco earlier this year, investors were saying, we want to invest more in ocean health, but we just need better data. We need more direction. And that message also speaks for governments as well. Without a clear line of sight, implementation just continues to be slow and it continues to be fragmented. Countries and investors find themselves having to act on assumptions rather than evidence. And these evidence gaps are known very well, I'm sure, by all of you. There's gaps in how information flows from where it's generated to where it's needed. I remember myself earlier in my career as a marine scientist, I always wondered, where is the data that I'm generating going? Is it getting to places where action can be influenced? Will it reach policymakers? And I think we know too often it does not. Well, the data is technically accessible now more than ever, right? We have over access to data. It's siloed, or it's not available in policy relevant formats or in the timelines it's needed. And we lack comparable global data that helps us connect the dots across different pollutants and different regions. Technologies could help track and prevent pollution. They're available, but they're too often underutilized. Water quality conditions in developing countries are often remaining largely invisible when we take a look at global assessments. Without long-term monitoring, we just can't tell if our interventions are actually working, and it's hard to measure our progress. So, maybe the questions before us today is rather simple. What do we need to do? How do we move from sort of the isolated progress to real systemic progress? And that's where UNEP and IOC UNESCO are really pleased to be working side by side on this question. And we have complementary strengths. UNEP brings our mandate from UNEA and 18 regional seas conventions and action plans, as well as the Global Program of Action and its partnerships on plastics, nutrients, and wastewater. And, celebrating this year, 30th anniversary. Together, we're well placed to take the next steps. And part of that next step is this new UN Decade or Ocean Decade program for a pollution-free ocean by 2050. That's inspiring. It seems like something we have to do. And it's a practical engine that links what already works and helps fill the gaps that have been for too long holding us back. This program will integrate open and interoperable data across pollutants and across regions, and can put it together in a single platform. It would deliver a recurring global ocean pollution assessment that can track trends, that can measure progress, and that can show us where action is making a big difference. And it would offer a user-friendly, user-driven digital interface that gives governments and businesses and investors, all of us, the decision-ready tools that they need. But of course, sitting in these tables across your colleagues, I hope it's clear this isn't something that UNEP and IOC can design alone. It has to be shaped with countries, with regional bodies, with all of you as partners, because your experience will help guide how the platform needs to work and what questions the assessments need to answer. It would help to ensure that the data is equitable and that it's inclusive. And so this side event is our chance to get that conversation started, to help build a future-ready system that helps countries act on evidence. And if we succeed, the work in some places is already happening, like in the wider Caribbean. This will become part of a connected global effort with far greater impact. Think of it, a pollution-free ocean by 2050. Yeah, it's ambition, but with the right engine, it's within reach. So let's all build it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And now for some remarks, please join me in welcoming Lewis Pugh, ocean advocate, pioneer swimmer, and UNEP's patron of the oceans.
Thank you all very, very much. It's absolutely wonderful today. I've spent the last 40 years swimming in the world's oceans, and over that period of time, I've seen them change, and change enormously. And the biggest change, or one of the biggest changes I have seen, has been the impact of pollution. It is now ubiquitous. It's absolutely everywhere. I can go to the high Arctic, to an island like Svalbard, and see a polar bear climb out of the sea and walk over tangled fishing nets, discarded flip-flops, and similar items of plastic pollution. I can go down to Antarctica and see exactly the same. I can go to rivers and see the pollution. It is ubiquitous. But I want to tell you about two places where an extraordinary thing has happened. I want to take you to New York, and I want to take you to Mumbai, because those two places are bucking the trend. Two places where astonishing results are actually happening. So a few years ago, I decided I wanted to swim the length of the Hudson River, and the Hudson River is one of the most amazing rivers in the world. It starts high up in the Adirondack Mountains and flows all the way through upper state New York until it gets to Albany, and then it carries on until finally it gets to New York City. Now, 50 years ago, if you had attempted to swim down the Hudson River, you wouldn't have made it. It was one of the most polluted rivers in America, if not the world. And New Yorkers said, enough is enough. We want to clean this river. And they were inspired by a musician called Pete Seeger, who bought a boat and he went up and down the river with concerts urging people to get involved. And it was amazing. They started cleaning that river up, mile by mile, town by town, factory by factory, until today it really has been completely turned around. I met one gentleman who said that only a few years ago he would sometimes wake up, he would look out across the river, and it would be completely blue. He'd wake up the next day and it would be a different color, yellow, and the next day a completely different color, orange. And the reason for that was because there was a big car factory very, very close by, and it depended upon the color of the car that they were manufacturing, that depended upon the color of the river the next day, because they were pouring all the paint into the rivers. Every river should be drinkable, fishable, and swimmable. It's really that simple. And so when I swam down the river, when I finally arrived, 32 days after starting, and I arrived in New York, and there is the Statue of Liberty at the end, and to realize I hadn't got sick once, it's an amazing testimony to what the people of New York have actually achieved. And I like to think that that river is a blueprint for what can be achieved in other rivers on the world, that your river can be saved with the right investment, the right passion, and the right policies. Let me now take you to Mumbai. It's an astonishing story. There was a young barrister, a young lawyer called Afroz Shah. I met him 10 years ago. I was asked to go there as a UNEP patron of the oceans with a guy called Michael Booth, who worked as a photographer. And I'll never forget walking onto this beach, because there was plastic pollution which was literally up to our shins. I'd never seen anything like this. And I looked to Afroz and I said, Afroz, where do we start? Do you know what he said to me? He said, Lewis, we start at our feet. And he literally went into the local village and he rounded up people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people. Eventually, during that morning, he'd rounded up nearly 1,000 people, and he says, please come down to the beach and help us clean it up. And we brought in lorries, we brought in bulldozers, we brought in trucks, and we cleared up all that plastic until eventually we could see sand underneath us. And now every single weekend, the Versova beach volunteers are there cleaning that beach and making sure that it is clean. It's another astonishing example about an area in the world that was turned around. But what is the common denominator here? Well, it's local people with huge amounts of passion. They've also been able to attract some investment, but lastly, it's ensuring that we have the right policies in place. You put those three things together, and actually, we can turn the tide on pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, Lewis, and that's a fantastic way to get us going and really thinking in a very action-oriented way. Please join me in welcoming Heidi Savelli-Soderberg, Acting Head of the Marine and Freshwater Branch of the UNEP Ecosystems Division, and Henrik Enevoldsen, Head of the Centre of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, to give us an overview of the proposed elements of this UN Ocean Decade Programme.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for giving both of us the word. We will alternate a bit in our introduction to you. So what we are going to present to you, as you already heard in the introduction, is this proposal for a new UN Ocean Decade program about a global ocean free from the harmful effects of pollution by 2050. So we are inviting you to help us shape this. And it is a program that will cover both science, data, and policy, business, finance interactions. Before really going into it, it's very important for us to emphasize that this initiative does not intend to replace or duplicate any of the many successful projects already existing and having been presented during the week so far. We really seek to amplify and unify these efforts, bring it together, provide a framework that gives us an opportunity to redefine our approach to ocean health and pave the way for cleaner, healthier marine environment for the future. I will start by giving you a little background, and then Heidi will continue talking about the concrete elements of what we are proposing. One of the background elements that is coming out of the UN Ocean Decade is there was a series of white papers called Vision 2030, and one of them addresses Decade Challenge number 1, which is to understand and beat marine pollution. This paper identifies issues, strategies, and analyzes the data gaps and strategies to fill those gaps and identify some of the solutions to address and prevent ocean pollution impacts. It identifies opportunities using artificial intelligence, and also it's pointing to identifying priority pollutants and areas for action so that we can have globally consistent monitoring, data collection, storage, and so forth. It also focuses on establishing partnerships across the public-private space. Another big piece of background for getting us where we are today is the work that was also mentioned in the beginning by Jessica Brown, is the work by the Back to Blue initiative. They conducted a process where they spent more than 2 years bringing together a global group of scientists, policy, business, and NGO stakeholders to looking for answers. So there has been a very strong consultative process across many different sectors of society, and this points back to, again, to Susan's point about this is an effort that needs the involvement of many different stakeholders to succeed. One of the things that came out of this consultation, which we were maybe, nobody was really completely prepared for, was the documentation of the surprising lack of data about the extent, the impact of pollution of the ocean. There are a lot of small-scale, point-in-time, disconnected, or often methodological inconsistent studies suggesting that pollution is damaging ocean health. But there are really very few or no large-scale ongoing monitoring data available, with a few exceptions. So the advice coming out of this process was very clear. Pollution is an unseen, often unnoticed threat to the health of the ocean, so we really need to address that. In parallel to that, on IOC UNESCO side, we started publishing our series of State of the Ocean reports, which reached exactly the same conclusion, that more resourced and systematic approach to observation and synthesis of ocean pollution is urgently needed. So, as also stated in the beginning, what we are presenting to you and really need your reflections on is indeed a very ambitious strategic framework for a global group of stakeholders, organizations, to build an evidence base about the impact of ocean pollution. And that will help us to give better basis for decision making, to take new initiatives, and hopefully bring change so we can reach the ambitious goal of an ocean free from the harmful effects of pollution by 2050. Over to you, Heidi.
Thanks, Henrik. As Susan also highlighted, we have been working for more than 50 years through the Regional Seas Conventions and Action Plans, to the Global Program of Action, and of course we're seeing some progress. We see elements that were originally part of the 9 source categories of the Global Program of Action, such as persistent organic pollutants, that graduated into the Stockholm Convention. You see heavy metals, Minamata Convention for mercury. We also see marine litter and plastics, which is now having its own process. So for 50 years and beyond, I think UNEP and many other actors have been working to bring the science and the data and the information and evidence together so that it's easier to identify what type of action is needed. And that can be at local levels, national, regional, and others. So this initiative, which we are very excited over hearing from you also how to shape further, it will contribute to the existing platforms. UNEP, the Intergovernmental Review Mechanism, was paused as UNEA is in place to provide additional guidance on the direction and the effort required on multiple areas related to pollution, but also oceans. And of course the 18 Regional Seas Conventions and Action Plans, several of which are in the room, that have been also driving this work at regional level. And of course the IOC's State of the Ocean report that we would build further on. We envisage a partnership of partnership. Too big to do alone, we're not going to try, but we are quite good at convening, and we would like to continue to do that. UNEP has 3 global partnerships, as mentioned by Susan, on nutrients, wastewater, marine litter, and plastic pollution. These already bring together more than 1,000 members and actors. That is a good start. We're not saying we're merging them, we're just saying we will draw on the existing mechanisms and partnerships that we have, because we want to have an even bigger one. A strategic framework for a global group of stakeholders so that we can build the evidence base and continue to elevate the topics that need to be dealt with. Yes. So one of the key pieces is a global ocean pollution assessment. We see this as being a recurrent assessment. First, a bit of a state of where are we right now, what are the key priority areas, where is there good amount of data and information, where is it missing? From there on, we can then plan ahead and see what would the next state of pollution assessment cover, and what are some of the priority actions and priority pollutants we need to start with and elevate. Who are the key partners that will be part of that? And we don't want a big, thick publication that's going to be used for elevating laptops or so. We want something that's interactive. So therefore, we would look at the second component, which is an online interactive data interface. As highlighted by Susan also, there are multiple pieces of data and information sitting with different stakeholders. We want to bring this together. We have done some work in this area, and we're learning from both the World Environment Situation Room, but also the Global Plastics Hub, which is bringing together and showcasing data and information from multiple actors so that we can fill the gaps and see where are things missing, can we coordinate to ensure who's going to fill what. This we will speak more in detail, and there will be some presentation coming around what are some of the ideas related to such a platform. still needs shaping. So put on your thinking caps, because there are lots of questions coming on this particular topic. The third one is, of course, we need to take this data and we need to turn it into something that's useful and helpful for decision makers, be they in governments or in business. So the guidance for decision makers is also, of course, we want to make sure that we take like was done for plastics, we take it from a scientific discussion on pollution into a breakfast topic discussion where you read on milk cartons what are some of these aspects that need to be addressed. We are there with weather. Everyone uses weather apps to check what's the situation. We're seeing some movement on air quality, perhaps what is the situation in different countries and in different cities. So could we turn this into more of a societal relevance? And last but not least is also to identify, okay, where do we start and where? So a global ocean pollution action plan is something that we foresee being developed as part of this initiative. This one isn't very good. Sorry. We foresee that this could have multiple aspects. It can be site-specific if it's certain specific pollutants and specific areas that might be sensitive, or there are opportunities for fast-tracking or low-hanging fruit, but also country-specific or region-specific. This is, again, what we would like to hear, what would be most helpful. And last but not least from my side, before I hand back to Henrik, is the guiding principles. Evidence-based decision-making, leave no one behind. All of this needs to be accessible in different languages. If it's a digital interface, then that needs to be accessible for different groups. And we need to draw heavily on youth, indigenous knowledge, and the knowledge of multiple partners. So the partnership of partnership would be such an initiative.
Thank you, Heidi. So to summarize what we have here presented you at high speed, this figure here might help that. So what we have as components in the program, it's the Global Ocean Pollution Assessment. It's providing an online interactive data interface. It's providing decision maker guidance that will draw on things already existing, and all of you who are involved in different initiatives, programs, conventions on different aspects of pollution, hopefully should see yourself in here, will find yourself in here. The idea is to build something that it can be the glue. We will depend heavily on stakeholder engagement. That will include the scientific community that will feed into delivering these products. It's on the data and technology side to be able to have the online tools and interactiveness that we are looking for. And we will also emphasize a lot engaging with policy communities, with business and financing, so that we can help facilitate solutions to be implemented, to come through. These are the components that will constitute this Global Ocean Pollution Action Plan. Whether you think of it as global, regional, national, or site-specific, we, UNEP and IOC, may be involved in delivering some of those action plans. Others will hopefully be picked up and led by many others at many different levels. Want to emphasize as well, the UN family as a whole will play a big role in the science component. We are going to make use of GISAM, which is a joint interagency mechanism of experts on the marine environment, considering getting together 12 UN agencies, and they will provide a big part of the science advice. So get in touch and participate. You're welcome to contact Heidi or myself with any query, any question, or if you're just curious to follow how we move ahead.
Thank you so much, Heidi and Henrik. And what I loved actually about that was the word glue. I think that really, in one word, encapsulates what this is all about. All of you are working on different aspects of tackling ocean pollution, but often it's really hard to kind of see it as one big whole. So this really offers the glue to bring all of your work together, and that's why we really want to hear from you as to how you see that glue working. Next, I'd like to invite onto the stage Clara Vejnasht, Associate Expert expert of the Chief Digital Office of UNEP, and she's going to share the design concept for the Global Pollution Action Hub, which is the online interactive digital interface. Thank you.
Hi everyone, really a pleasure to be here. So where is my presentation? Do I have to? No. I think in the back. So today I'm going to show to you one of the ways that we can get all of this data and use digital and to transform it into insight, really. So we have, yeah? So I need my presentation up so I can show you the mock-up. And there we go. So next slide, please. Here we are. So this is one of the ways that it can look. And at UNEP, we use user-centric design. So that means that we gather the requirements the best as we can, and then we build something visual so that you can see, and then give us much more targeted feedback, and then we can really start shaping these digital tools. So what I'm doing now is exactly this. I'm showing you a mock-up. The data, keep in mind, is not, some of the data is real, but most of it is, or some of it is just to illustrate what we can do. You can also walk around, and go to the physical weather and play around with it yourself, actually. It's there as well. So this is it. This is our landing page. This will give you some key data on the different pollutant status, on the snapshot, really, of how it looks for our oceans. And there will be some figures, a short overview. And from here, there are two different entry points to actually get to the data. So you could go on the top menu, you see. There is a data analysis, dashboard, solutions hub, and how to contribute. The data is found in the, next slide, please. If you click on data analysis, that will give you a map where you can visualize these different pollutions across the world and overlay with different indicators. Here you can also start big, so you can start with broad pollution categories and then drill down into different indicators, or you can select different indicators and combine it with others to see the bigger picture. So it's a dual approach that allows users to really explore trends or answer very specific questions. So the drop-down menu that you see on the left, you see, can we go to the next one? You will see that you have the big pollution categories, and under that, you have the different indicators. So each category will expand to reveal these indicators, and you can select multiple layers. In this example, there's a user, we can call her Mary. She's a technical expert, and she wants to explore nitrogen-related indicators and impacts. So she will select the coastal eutrophication and total nitrogen under the ecosystem impacts. This is an indicator that has a marine footprint. That means that it will appear as little points markers along the coastline. So it's the circles that you're looking at. Next, Mary will add the nitrogen use per area of cropland from the pollution category. Now that will access data from FAO, for example. This all data exists. And this layer is applied at country level. So that's what gives the gradient. So that's why you see countries in different colors. And this is allowing you to then very quickly, or Mary in this case, to know where there are high runoffs, for example, from agricultural use, that may be linked to coastal impacts. So this can inform where action is needed, and again, take the data and transform it into insight. If Mary needs to go a little bit deeper and generate visualizations of data analysis, like she really wants to understand a little bit more in that region, she can press for graphs and charts. That would be under the map. Can we change the, yeah, there we go. And then she can select charts. And now she will get this different visualization of the data. And that will help her explore links with regional distribution of nitrogen sources. And these charts are also easier to spot different patterns and compare values across regions. And this is also very, very useful if she needs to put maybe this data in a presentation to drive action, all of those things. So next slide, please. Okay, so now we're looking at a different use case. So imagine there is this person, Darius, let's call him. He's a technical officer working for a regional marine conservation program in the Caribbean. So he wants to understand how the wastewater pollution might be affecting the coral reef health. So he will zoom into the Caribbean region. So he's only going to get data for that region. And then on the left panel, he's going to open the ecosystem's impact and select the coral reef health. You see the coral reef is already, you can see the colors indicating the health of that coral reef. Next slide, please, to show you the analysis it's going to do. All right. So then he can select from the pollution sources and adds 2 wastewater-related indicators. So he's selecting the proportion of untreated wastewater discharged and the nutrient load from wastewater, which links directly to coastal eutrophication. Now, this map is going to show the percentage of untreated wastewater discharge and nutrient input hotspots along the coast, overlined with the coral health information. So now you can see how these data sets are interacting, and he can start to see how high untreated wastewater nutrient loads are aligning with zones of coral stress or reef degradation. So, for example, maybe coastal cities with low wastewater treatment coverage will appear in darker shades, and these same locations show elevated nitrogen and phosphorus entering marine areas. So now when compared and overlapped, he starts to see these patterns, and this will allow him to then brief policymakers in the region or really use it for advocating about the different links of wastewater mismanagement on land and coral reef decline offshore. And you can see this is all very, very user-friendly, and anyone basically could generate these visualizations and find those links. Then this is the other, can we switch the slide again? All right, this is the other entry point, the dashboards. So the reason why it's there, it's because visualizing as dashboards, it's easier for you to look into specific issues or deep dive into like cumulative impacts or trends. It's also easy again to download and use it in a report. So in this example, we're using Lenny. She's a policy advisor in a small island development state in the Pacific region. So she selects her region and her country and the category, in this case, wastewater. So the dashboard will show this structured set of indicators for wastewater. You see charts, we'll see contextual information and detailed data for like this really deeper analysis. This would all be preset. And can we change the slide? So you could still scroll down, and you could see there this interesting use of AI that we could have there as well that would show these key insights, showing you what are the main things that you can see in all of these different graphs that are appearing in the dashboard. Next slide. So if, after seeing all this data, policymakers would probably want to know, for example, what solutions are there? What can I do to improve the health, for example, of the corals based on the problem I have identified? So you could go to the Solutions Hub, and the idea here, again, this is all a mock-up, but the idea would be to use natural language query. So you could ask, like you ask ChatGPT, and this model would go into the database of solutions that are there, use cases, different kinds of publications, materials, all this information that would fit the chatbot, and it would answer only based on what is there. So it can't really hallucinate, and it can tell you where to look. So this would be based on Environment GPT, for example, which you can also explore, by the way, in the weather space. And this will allow you also to, the policymakers also to find those with natural language, but you can also have filters next to it. That's what we added there on the left. On the left. You also have like indications of how you could go about it, right? So maybe you want to click on compare trends, or you want to have regional comparisons of different solutions. So you have this dual approach of like filtering for the solutions based on your need, but also using the chatbot. And finally, one more slide. Finally, this is an idea of how different stakeholders could upload their data into this platform to ensure that it's always accurate and that it's always updated. Of course, every data, every submission would have to be appropriately verified by the UNEP and UNESCO probably, and to make sure that this can go in and it could fit into our solutions hub, or if it's a data set, it could fit into the different ways to visualize data, etc. So that's it. That was my quick walkthrough of what it could look like. And we are here to collect your feedback. As I said, it's always very useful to have something to look at before you know what's needed. So this is our starting point here, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clara. And now please welcome Anne-Catherine Newrethra. Sorry, I need to put my glasses on for that. Communication Manager from UNEP's Communication Division to talk about the proposed communications campaign.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So I am here to talk a little bit about our very, very early ideas of how a communications campaign for this big initiative, really for this movement, could look like. But again, I'm coming with the same preface as Heidi and Henrik did, that everything we'll be exploring here today is really just food for thought, and we want to develop together how such a program to tackle or to beat ocean pollution could look like. And so we heard about the importance of the issue from Louis. We heard about the proposed program. We heard about the data that's already available, which is quite fascinating. But the role of communications or a campaign here is to see how do we make people care. And once they care, how do we give them the right tools wherever they are with whatever capacity they have to join this movement to beat ocean pollution. Next slide. So we already have an existing early plan, but what we're looking at today is the why and the how we're doing all this. And I've structured this presentation roughly in 3 areas. In a campaign, they don't necessarily have to come one after each other, but they're 3 key problems I saw, but maybe you don't agree with me, maybe you see other problems, that such a campaign would have to tackle in order to beat ocean pollution. So the first goal of the campaign would be, well, to get going. As we have heard, there is no unifying campaign yet on ocean pollution. We have different campaigns on plastic pollution, on nitrogen pollution, but not looking at the different sources, not looking at the different areas, and we have to realize that beating ocean pollution is a generational effort, right? If we talk about 2050, that's 25 years from now, so that means the people that are young today and joining this conversation, they will be the leaders making decisions or implementing decisions in that time. So if I may, I would just like to ask into the room if everybody who's under the age of 30 could stand up. I'm seeing a sense of humor here. I want to see the youth. Okay, great. So I need to be crouching down. Next, maybe everyone, you can get up again. Everyone under the age of 35. We're gonna, yes, increase the bar a little bit. Wow, that's a good size. That's a third of the room, I would say. So, so we're really happy to have input of the youth here and to get your ideas later on as well, because again, it's 25 years, so we're talking about a long time. If we look about the messages we want to get out there about ocean pollution, I think a very important one is that our oceans are not a nice to have. Healthy oceans are a fundamental pillar of the global economy, economic stability, food security, and climate regulation. We know that our oceans are at risk. We heard a lot about it, but we don't know enough. We don't know the exact flows, the exact causes. We know that ocean pollution starts on land, so that's also an important message to get across. And that ties into the next message, that we are all connected to the ocean. So you don't need to live in a country with a large coastline. You could live in a country that has a watershed. You could be consuming products and so on. Everyone has an impact on the ocean. And then finally, that solutions to pollution exist. So how do we get these solutions out there and get them taken up? Something we want to do very early on in the campaign is go out with a so-called CAP survey, a knowledge, attitude, and practice survey to at least 1,000 people across the globe. We did that for the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. We got some really interesting results, which we then used to base the entire campaign on. So we saw, for example, people already care about nature. They already care about forests, so we don't need to start there. Our audience also turned out to be on the younger side, but also professionally involved, and they just needed the tools and the knowledge about what to do. So I think a CAP survey will be a really good tool to get us there. We also want to have some gamification, so if people don't know where to start, they could take these pledges and could explore where they can come in the campaign. The second goal, and that goes more towards the point that Heidi was mentioning earlier, that we need to go deeper with our knowledge, right? There's no global knowledge base yet on the details of ocean pollution. That's compounded by even lower public awareness as to the various sources of ocean pollution. So I would say plastics is up there. People are already pretty aware about plastic pollution being bad, but there's less awareness about the impacts of unsustainable agriculture, for example. So that's also something we have to find out, and this is where the strategic science-based communication comes in. So an example deliverable could be, as was mentioned earlier, if we have this big report on global ocean pollution and an assessment of it, how do we get people to read it, right? So how do we get people not to put their laptops on it, as is Heidi's goal, but actually read it, take the key messages, and see how they can advocate for change. And so this is where communications is very important, get it to the right media, but also communicate it in sort of fun ways, infographics. We once, for plastic pollution, did this very successful interactive of what's in your bathroom, where people could see how the items in their bathroom actually had an impact on global plastic pollution. That went viral, and so we're going to explore more such creative tools on getting the message out there. With other campaigns, what we've also seen, what worked well is documentaries, which doesn't necessarily mean we need to produce them ourselves, but if we look at the landscape right now, there's a lot of documentaries actually focusing on ocean topics, celebrating the beauty of oceans or tackling specific problems, but there's actually nothing big on the various sources of ocean pollution. So that could be an opportunity to come in. We have contacts to film festivals, to different producers that we could use for that. And then the third campaign goal would be going wide. So we have identified our messages, we have identified the science on the basis. We have reached people, but we also want other people to come in, movements to come in and motivate people on their own. And there's no existing global movement right now to address the full spectrum of ocean pollution. So the solution would be to build on various existing partner networks and mobilize them for this campaign. So we've heard Louis speak here very passionately about the topic. We have other goodwill ambassadors we could engage, but we could also see, specifically looking at youth, what are some new voices we could involve that are passionate about these topics. We also have existing partnerships with the world of sports. We've worked quite a lot with the World Surf League, for example, or the International Olympic Committee. So it would be a matter of looking into these opportunities and then also looking at the world of art, the entertainment industry, musicians, and then a very big moment we have every year is World Environment Day, where we can mobilize hundreds of millions of citizens around a specific topic, and also the UN as a whole. So a World Environment Day on the ocean or on ocean pollution would be a big opportunity in that respect. Yes, and the immediate next steps would be to get your views here from the room, to adapt our strategy, and to come up with a coherent program for this campaign. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne-Catherine. Now, as you can see from the slide, this is the bit everyone's going to be quite excited about. We are going to have a moment to grab a coffee, but please don't leave because in 5 minutes we're going to reconvene for a really interactive discussion. And as you've heard over and over and over again, this is about you. This is about the glue that joins all of you together. So, what we really want to hear from you is, what do you want this initiative to be? What do you want this global UN Ocean Decade program to deliver? What's missing? What are the gaps? How do you see yourselves fitting into this? How can we join it together? So as I said, please take a moment, stretch your legs, grab a coffee, but don't leave. We might barricade the doors. Come back because we want to hear from you in just a few minutes. We're about to get started. Okay, please everyone take your seats. We're about to get started. This is your moment to shine. So I'm about to start picking on people. Right, okay, as I mentioned, we still have some people at the back just getting coffees, but please just take your seats, wrap up those conversations. It's time to hear from you. Right, who am I going to pick on first? I've got a volunteer straight away. Can you please tell us, what's your reaction? And can I just ask everybody in the room, before we get into this, please understand that your colleagues are speaking now, so please sit down and listen and give them some respect. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Anssi Mikola. I'm the CEO of a company called River Recycle. And what we do is we clean 19 rivers out of solid waste in 5 developing countries. We collect about 4 million kilos of waste every year. And we've just finished a project with the Asian Development Bank to create a digital twin of the Pasig River. And one of the things we would love to have included here is the river measurement, as in how much pollution is going in through the rivers, because there are, as mentioned, plenty of things that can be done, but unless we can actually show how much pollution each river is producing, it's hard to get the momentum going in the cities. So we'd be very glad to keep providing the data, and we would love to see the river part in this so that we can talk to all the municipalities.
That's fantastic, thank you so much. And this is really a genuinely multi-stakeholder effort, so the private sector is such a critical part of this. I think we've got a representative in the room from Mexico who, can I call on that person? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, I just want to seize this opportunity to congratulate you on this initiative. Having together UNESCO and UNEP is so important with all the information, and I think what most countries would need is data, and real hard data to work on. I was just realizing also, and it was going to be a suggestion for you, to look into International Maritime Organization regulations. They've done a lot of work, and countries who are members to the IMO, and particularly on plastics and ghost gear nets also. You also have FAO that it would be important to look into. And also ballast water is in the IMO. So that's a humble suggestion, which I think it would be in order not to duplication and also do synergies with all the international organizations and the treaties. And I think from our point of view, we would strongly support this document to be like a really something to look at, and for all countries, all members of UNEP to use it on a daily basis. So congratulations on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think that's really important as well. The first step really is trying to identify what is the existing data and bringing it together, and from there working to fill the gaps. I think we've got a representative in the room of Vanuatu. Is there someone from Vanuatu in the room who'd like to share some thoughts with us? Thank you so much, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Osborne Melenamu, the Director of the Department of Environment. Thank you for the opportunity. I think one thing that I want to see is also integrate indigenous knowledge into the data analysis, and also it is important to also align the indicators into that will reflect must reflect the small island states, for example, Vanuatu. And then I think plastics and waste becoming one of the important issues so far. And it mostly affects other small island states, especially Pacific. But for most of the plastic waste, we face so impact, but it is something that we did not cause. So it is good that we see that we are coming to understanding that you need to find ways on how to address this. And for me, this is a general responsibility for all the countries to address. And on plastics, Vanuatu is also looking in single-use plastics. We already identified that it's becoming an issue, and we want all the other states to support and take a small step and to address those issues. I think I also support the statement made by the second speaker that we need to start on our front door, and it's something that we want to see. We also doing that in Vanuatu, and we also request other countries to do so. And moving forward, one of the things that we want for the program we want to see integrated is to also, in regards to the governance, we want to also include Pacific cities in the organization and also in committees and advisory structure. In that way, it will reflect our initial context. I mean, it will reflect our priorities. And also in regards to adding value, we also want to stress that we need to integrate science, capacity, and action, not just reports, and also to get into consider, like I said, international knowledge. I think the Pacific, the visits people, they can read the seas, modern science can catch up to. So it is something that we need to get the view or the knowledge captured into the database or the assessment. In closing, I would say that Vanuatu is ready to lead, but we need a program built with us, not around us, moving forward. So for that, thank you.
Thank you, and I think that's such an important motto for this program. We need that to be built with us, not around us. And that's what we're trying to do here, so that's fantastic. We've got a comment over here. The other thing I'll say after this comment, I'm just going to give you on notice. I know we've got several representatives of regional SEAS programs here, and there's a lot of action already happening at a regional level, and one of the really important objectives of this program is to learn from those best practices and join them together into a global effort. So regional SEAS programs, be on notice. I'm coming to you next. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Rachel Muturi. I'm based in Kenya. I'm a waste picker and working with International Alliance of Waste Pickers. So what I'd say is we should stop plastic leakage at the source. So, and from this, waste pickers collect plastics before they enter drainage systems, rivers, and streams. So these are the main pathways to the ocean, and this is the biggest impact we create. And another thing, we should contribute to circular economy, and from these, waste pickers return plastics to recycling, and also they reduce the need for new plastic production, which lowers pollution and protects the ocean. So if we are serious on about ending ocean pollution, we must recognize, protect, and invest in waste pickers. They are not the problem. They have always been part of the solution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Udongo Kevin from Kenya, an organization called Africa Water Ambassadors. I believe one of the solutions to help our oceans is to give a voice to our rivers. Because we know very well that rivers plays a critical role when it comes to ocean survival. Because it is the pathway of these nutrients pollution. So the very moment we give our rivers good voice and we give it the best, I believe our oceans are going to smile. There's a program that we normally do, that we have in an organization called the Journey of Water. The Journey of Water is whereby we follow the water from the catchment to where it is pouring its water. So the very moment we discover it from the source, that's the point whereby our oceans are going to smile. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's such an important point, and I think this is something that we need to be really crystal clear about. We talk about source to sea, but I think something that we found very clearly throughout the research process and early consultations for this program is that when it comes to actually following the pollution, sometimes that slogan doesn't actually translate. And we often look at, in particular when it comes to the data, we look at ocean data, freshwater data and land-based pollution data separately. And actually, as we know, what happens on land, what happens on rivers is what ends up in the ocean. So joining all of those different, very siloed areas together is really critical. And you know, I know we face a risk of this being so big that everything's included, but actually it is. All of this does end up in the ocean. I said we were going to talk about some regional solutions. I am going to pick on Christopher Corbin from the Cartagena Convention because I'd love to hear a little bit about the work that you've been doing in the Caribbean Sea and really kind of bringing together, that journey of bringing together the different member states to really address all types of different pollution in the Caribbean Sea.
Thank you so much. Chris Corbin, coordinator of the Cartagena Convention, and we represent the wider Caribbean region consisting of 28 UN member states, 16 small island developing states, and if you were to count every single island in the region, we probably have over 50. So needless to say, I want to congratulate on this effort. This is major to have something looking at ocean pollution in a holistic way. This is something that we have also been very much focused on since I joined the Secretariat too many years ago, 21 to be exact. But first of all, I want to say that our legal instrument, the Land-Based Sources of Marine Pollution Protocol, evolved from the GPA. In fact, we were the first protocol that developed after the GPA was established. When the GPA decided to focus on priority pollutants, we also decided, because wastewater, nutrients, and marine litter, solid waste represent the major pollutants for us as well. So first and foremost, it was about getting collectively our member states, our contracting parties, to agree on these are our priority pollutants. And I would say in the Caribbean, and particularly for small island developing states, and my eloquent colleague from Kenya expressed it so well, the effects of one rainfall are seen in the coastal and marine environment, not in days, not in hours, sometimes in minutes. So it's very, very real to us in the region, impacts on human health, impacts on economies, the very sustainability of coastal areas and small island developing states. So I think there's a recognition, one, that it is a high priority. And secondly, the point that we have reflected on is that it can't be done in silos. So we welcome this now that it's ocean pollution, because wastewater, my good friend is around here, creates so many different individual pollutants impacting. So this would allow us to form a more integrated approach. We have now established regional strategies. We have one on marine litter. We just have one on nutrients. So I think now it's about how do we action this? We have the strategies at the regional level. I would wave the flag for regional seas being the sort of laboratory to carry this forward. And just to end by really appreciating the communication side. For my sins, I always sometimes wear a communications hat. We have to make this relevant, very, very relevant to the people who are impacted and to the young people, because they are the ones who are going to feel the impacts of this pollution. So as I said, I could talk for an hour, but I will stop.
Thank you so much. And we've got someone just behind you who's another regional seas representative from COBSEA. Tell us what's happening in the Southeast Asian region.
Great, yeah, thank you very much. My name is Mahesh Pradhan, and I'm the coordinator, like Chris, for the Caribbean, but I'm for the East Asian Seas. So it's called COPSEA, Coordinating Body on the Seas of East Asia. 9 countries, mainly Southeast Asia, but also China and the Republic of Korea. So a huge region, lots of pollution hotspots, yeah? But it's interesting to follow up on Chris in the sense that our countries, the 9 countries, have also come together on a working group on marine litter, and this has been for quite a while. And one thing which I wanted to add on, perhaps, and with Heidi and the GPA and 30 years, there's been a long sort of connection with the regional seas, is on the sea-based sources of marine pollution. Yeah, we always talk land-based, land to sea, but there is within sea, and here for us in the region, the issue of ghost gears is something, and if you're following the plastics negotiations, this has been flagged, yeah? And luckily, Korea is coming in to support us with a fairly large project on this, which we're working with FAO. So that's one side. The second one, which I wanted to also mention, which fortunately we have a little bit of support from Jeff, is on nutrients, and our colleague from Kenya has already flagged this. And the runoff with nutrients, and we have, just like the GPML, we have the Global Partnership on Nutrients Management, where I think we have to make that connection, and in terms of seeing what can be done better. And picking on Chris's comment of relevance is something, and for us, like the Jeff Clean and Healthy Oceans, we're looking at 3 sectors: tourism, agriculture, and fishing ports. So I think all these runoffs and how do we sort of make that link is something that we would really want to do more. And in this context, again, like Chris, I'd like to congratulate you on this holistic approach. For us in the regional seas, it's really fantastic when we can provide these solutions type of aspects, yeah, to our countries. So with that, thank you, back to you.
Thank you so much, and it's great to see that there is action happening. We've got lots of hands coming up, and the other thing I would just like to say before we go to the next speaker is, you know, really challenge us. This is your opportunity. I think we're all aligned on what the long-term vision is, but what does success look like in 5 years? What is it that you really want to see? Get granular, and tell us what you'd really like to see.
Thank you very much. I am from the Mediterranean and other regional seas. I'm the coordinator of UNEP Barcelona Convention. Without repeating what the colleagues have said, and I'm fully in agreement of what they have said, let me also, I feel obliged and honored also to express our appreciation for the GPA and the role that they have played in guiding all our work for many, many years in strengthening pollution control and prevention. Regional strategies, we have the LBS protocol that was very much inspired under the GPA, but we, at the time when countries, they negotiated the protocol, they did not enter into detail, but they left open that when time would come, they would commit to legally binding measures addressing pollution control and prevention for different sectors. And now our regulatory framework is complete. We have legally binding measures on wastewater, including nutrient, on plastic pollution, on marine litter, on sludge management coming from wastewater, agriculture, sustainable aquaculture, and stormwater. But these are very important and they have to be implemented at country level. So what we are doing is that just the COP that we had last week in Egypt, they endorsed all the programs of measures and national action plan that the contracting parties have developed. And those programs of measures or national action plan are not just a mere explanation of priorities, but they also have identified priority action that could be really the basis for preparing project proposal in order to mobilize necessary resources to support contracting parties for their implementation. Regional seas, there are many commitments, but we also are aware that countries need support for their implementation. And then we like very much what you are doing because it's important that we speak with one voice and try to coordinate our actions so we can achieve concrete results. The question that you said, what we see in 5 years' time, I don't know if we could achieve it or not, but I want a litter free for the Mediterranean, and this is what we are working, because we have a big problem of marine litter in our region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we've got lots of hands going up, and I will come to all of you, but I know we've got several country representatives in the room as well, so I would like to hear from some member states, and we'll come over to this side of the room in just a moment.
Thank you very much. My name is Jana Friedrich, and I'm having the honor to represent the Marine Environment Laboratories of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And we are one of the 12 UN agencies, we are a specialized UN agency who are contributing to this program. And my congratulations go to UNEP and to IOC UNESCO for having launched this UN Decade program. That's an enormous opportunity to tackle pollution in the ocean. Coming back to the Marine Environment Laboratories. So many may not know that IAEA is operating a marine laboratory, and actually it is the only marine environment laboratory of the UN system family. And we're doing research and capacity building for our member states and with our member states on pollution. Radioactive pollution, inorganic pollution, but also emerging contaminants. Marine microplastics pollution is a big initiative. We are working on ocean acidification, but also addressing the sources and triggers of harmful algal blooms. So if you are seeing the wish or the need to do research with us or capacity building, please reach out to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'd like to say at the end, we're going to be showing a QR code. And if you scan that, you can enter your details to be kept in touch, but you can also share more detailed information. So everyone that's talking today about the work that they're doing, we would really like to hear from you. And please do share that information with us via the end so we can stay in touch and make sure that you're included along the journey as part of this process.
Talo Falava, I bring warm Pacific greetings to you all. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Anastasia. I'm the MEA's coordinator at the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program. We'd like to acknowledge the organizers for organizing this event and opportunity for SPREP to share our experiences from our region. SPREP is an intergovernmental organization established 32 years ago with a membership of 26 countries and territories. Our regional priorities are climate change resilience, biodiversity conservation, waste management, and pollution control, and environmental governance. Ocean is our cross-cutting theme. And SPREP is the secretariat to the Regional Seas Convention of the Noumea Convention. I just wanted to highlight a few regional frameworks that support initiatives at the regional level for ocean pollution, marine pollution, and one of them, our high-level regional strategy is what we call a 2050 Blue Strategy for the Pacific continent, which our political leaders endorsed as our blueprint map to address regional issues ranging from peace and security, digital technology, climate change, ocean pollution, and ocean and environment. We also have the Noumea Convention and its protocol on dumping, bringing together parties to the convention and protocol to report on marine pollution incidents that have occurred in the biennium reporting period. And then we also have the Pacific Marine Litter and Action Plan, which have supported our member countries to develop their own national marine litter action plans. And this is the Pacific's comprehensive initiative to address environmental and marine pollution issues. It sets out the policy, context, and key actions to minimize marine litter, emphasize the transboundary nature of the issues, and the collective responsibility of all stakeholders to address it. We also have a 10-year strategy which consolidates all thematic areas relating to pollution, whether it's land-based, ship-sourced, and this is the Cleaner Pacific Strategy for integrated sustainable waste management and pollution prevention and control in Pacific region. It provides strategic management framework to address waste, chemicals and pollutants that will reduce solid waste, asbestos, electrical and electronic waste, healthcare waste, ship source pollution, and a whole lot of the disaster waste and liquid waste, specifically sewage and trade waste. Then we also have the mechanisms, regional mechanisms that we call roundtables. And one that is specific to marine ocean pollution is the Cleaner Pacific Roundtable, where we bring together governments, civil societies, industries, manufacturers, NGOs, youth, women, and so we bring key stakeholders who are impacted by ocean pollution in this roundtable. So this is our regional mechanism and frameworks and strategies that that address marine and ocean pollution in our part of the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And it is really wonderful to hear about all of the success stories and all of the action that's happening. And you know, this is why we really say that this initiative is a partnership of partnerships. It's not about replacing or duplicating the work that you're already doing. It's about joining it all together and giving you what you need to help fill the gaps. So it's wonderful to hear about that. I think there were some more hands up on this side of the room as well. I'll come to you in just a moment. And I think we've got some country representatives here. I know we've got people in the room from South Africa, from Japan, from Norway. So if you'd like to contribute, please put your hand up and I'll come to you soon.
Thank you very much. My name is Professor Mark Sutton from the United Kingdom Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. I co-chair something called the Global Partnership on Nutrient Management, sister to the Global Wastewater Initiative from the Global Partnership on Marine Litter. I'm part of the GPA, and it's been a pleasure since 2012. I think I first met Heidi in Manila, and Isabel, actually. A great place for connections, and therefore fully aware of the importance of the GPA, and we heard that from Chris Corbin, from Mahesh as well. So let's just reflect on the GPA from my perspective of 15 years of engagement. And my first point was, I think the governments gave GPA a hard time in the first place, because an intergovernmental process that only meets as such every 5 years is hard to maintain momentum. And I would say more and better is needed. Make it stronger, make it more regular. The second point, those regional conventions are wonderful. We've heard examples. But the framework of getting them cooperating can be stronger. Very obvious. Next point. The name. In 15 years of engagement, I have learned to say it without taking a breath, and I can do it. The Global Program of Action for the Protection of the Marine Environment from Land-Based Activities. It's too long, and GPA doesn't mean much, apart from those who know. And I remember another Chris. Many of you will know him, a guy called Chris Cox. And the discussion went to say, how about building on the Clean Seas campaign and just have the Clean Seas Convention? It rolls off the tongue. It's easy, it's quick. Well done, Chris. I'm not saying you should choose that. Fight around a name, but fight around a snappy name. One that the world can buy into and say, yes, this is it. Don't make it a detailed convention. Make it a framework convention of those regional conventions, but do meet regularly, and that regular meeting, just like here, is what gives it the power moving forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. A lot of really practical things there, and I think some homework for our UNEP colleagues. Oh, there you go, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joyce Koech, and I would say I'm representing the ocean side of the country, which is Mombasa. My question was, especially targeting the lady who communicated about, communications and how can we build a campaign. And we know that this campaign is until 2050, and you said that there's this age gap of 25 years. My question is, it's all about building momentum. And one thing that you said is like, ocean starts from the land. So like, what I would like to ask is like, since we have 25 years, how are we involving especially the next generation? Because I feel like most of these solutions, what I have learned from working with communities is that people take something that they own. Like, so I think one thing that we could do is like, one way of doing it is like, right, because I work in the coast communities, and I work with young people on the coast, and sometimes I feel like they are not connected with the ocean. They think that they are very far away from the ocean. So I think one of the things that we can do is make them, or kind of like teach them that they're not far, like it's the same thing, that we are not apart from nature. Ocean is also our, we are part of the ocean. So like, make them understand this, or rallying them understand the campaign itself, so that we are able to like build a campaign that people believe in, that young people believe in. And I think that's one of the ways that we can find solutions, right? Letting young people run and believe in the campaign. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone? I think we've got someone from South Africa in the room. I'll come over to you in just a moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and much appreciated for the invitation, and importantly, just to acknowledge the partnership between the IOC and the UNEP. I think what we've had a lot comes with regards to issues that we are faced with around marine pollution. I think we spoke at length around the data, and it's where the whole issues are actually based on. We know that the issue around the relevant data that is required for us to actually be able to deal with the issues that we are faced with is currently what is actually making us to face the challenge at the moment around making sure that we have a clean ocean. We have a challenge around how to deal with emerging pollutants when we are dealing with things like issues around the marine noise, the pharmaceutical issues as well. The question is, how do we get enough information to start building a baseline information to actually be able to start from it? We have tried at length to actually be able to try to collaborate, but the problem is just the variation or the variability of data sets that we always collect. And to share the data with others is actually important, but we often get to the difficulties of trying to look at how to interpolate all the data set with others, and it is not easy to actually be able to integrate that. The question is, how do we find ourselves in making sure? We believe that probably such a program around that is proposed today will actually be able to set the benchmark for us to actually start to actually be able to dealing with the protocols, the rules that are required to making sure that we can always be able to share the required data as well. But it's important that we make sure that the data, as much as possible that we collect, it's actually accustomed to a fair and care principles as well. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when it comes to collaboration, we are able to do that. And most importantly, it's always about the collaboration. How do you bring the active partners, your government, your universities, your industries, and I see that in the room, we're all here. It's all about us being able to network and collaborate as much as possible, but not forgetting that international bodies as well, you play a significant role. IOC, UNEP, you provide enough programs and framework to actually be able to align us to do this. The Regional Seas program as well, I think it's important that we recognize the conventions as well, the Barcelona conventions as well, in terms of the framework of harmonization. We value that as much as possible, and we need to bring it home as well as much as possible to try and do that. But how do we deal with the inconsistencies of the methodologies and the analysis of our actual data as well? I think we need to start looking at what is it that we need to use the data for and how best to actually be able to use it for as well. And I think lastly for us is to actually be able to say that the program is well and set, and we would like to actually support it in as far as it becomes a long-term project that is going to support three important things. From us, it's about the capacity development of the program, the issues around the transfer and to being able to transfer the technology as well amongst the developing countries is important. Be innovative as well, it's what we're looking at. But in order for us to implement an effective way of trying to deal with the clean seas, we need to find resources available so that we can actually be able to support the implementation of this program. We can't be able to echo it as well. Even in the negotiations, we are doing the same things to negotiate resources as much as possible to actually allow the developing countries to actually, including the small island states as well, because they are faced with a number of challenges. Would like to make sure that we do that. One thing that we don't want to forget out of it is that we've got a program as well that we are running in South Africa as well, that is important around the seafood program, and we would like to make sure that the indicators that we are actually being able to identify, we just get to bring them here, and we believe that once we can actually be able to do that, we will actually provide a baseline of bioindicators as a layer for some of the indicators that we can use when it comes to food securities and human health as well. And the important thing is that once we can deal with the fragmentation of the actual data sets, it will actually assist us, or it will actually benefit us to moving towards an evidence-based policies, unlocking funding financial avenues that we need, and also to demonstrate a measurable reduction in pollution impact, and also bringing closer NGOs and indigenous people into the equation so that they can also be able to be part of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I think that was such an important comment, and data is not everything, but it is a really important first step, and I think that's something that has come through very clearly through this program, is that the data that we've got is really not interoperable and is not helping us to tell the story about the impacts of ocean pollution in a way that will enable us to make that case for more resources and more action. So thank you so much for that comment. I think we've got someone else over here who is ready to make a comment. Did we have someone on this table who was... Sorry, were you next? No? Okay. Anyone else over... wrong table. My apologies.
Oh, hello. I'm glad you can hear me. So I just wanted to follow on from that last point around the importance of the storytelling when it comes to the data, because I think that's the crucial catalytic moment when more people can understand what that data is trying to say. So for that reason, I just wanted to share our thoughts around the importance of not siloing education, and around also getting data points around the effectiveness of delivering campaigns in education to see what actual difference that really makes, and improving that data so we can see what techniques and approaches are working. So I'm from Wastebusters, so we work with 24,000 schools in 94 countries to teach children about pollution and water pollution across a set of other subjects. And we're also working on a new campaign called Water Week for the UN Water Action Decade. So this is to create a global water curriculum for freshwater and ocean environments across the whole water cycle. But we're also trying to do something new. We're trying to create connectivity between everyone here. So we're looking at trying to translate the information that's coming into the Pollution Data Hub, try to actually synergize with what's actually being planned for this ocean event and this new campaign that's being launching. But also importantly, we want to try and bring in an industry that hasn't, we believe, been represented here so far, and that is the entertainment industry as much as we can. So we want to try to harness the power of entertainment for social change, to try to trigger collective civic action and see what difference that can make. So that's what we're going to try to do, and we're going to be creating a cross-sector collective impact framework where we can try to share intelligence, resources and findings so we can all try to improve civic mobilization.
Great, thank you so much. Now we've got time just for one or two more comments. Are there any member state countries in the room? Anyone that I haven't been to yet? We've got one over here. Here you go. Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much. My name is Lucia Ndiene, and I'm from Liberia, West Africa. And from that continent of Africa, that side of Africa, our coast is dying, the rivers are dying, the oceans is suffering. People that believe in agriculture, those ones are depends on farming, those ones that depend on the rivers for food, like the fishermen, they can no longer get anything from the ocean. So I'm also the Global Impact Lead at the Water Storyteller Collective. At the Water Storyteller Collective, we believe a global ocean free from plastic starts with listening to the communities who live with its impact every day. Across West Africa, rivers and oceans are choked with plastics and chemical waste, threatening livelihoods and health. By combining science, storytelling, and UNEP action, we can turn awareness into action and scale local-driven solutions. The Ocean Decade is our chance to ensure that communities, forces, guide global policy, so solutions are also ambitious but lasting. So this is our space. We believe that we shouldn't just depend on data. Storytelling is one of the major ways we can be able to save the ocean and protect whatsoever we have. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much. And look, I think we've had such a wonderful, well, let's take one more final one. We've got one more final one right here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to share with you an exciting work that's going on in Asia-Pacific region. Right now, UNESCAP, UNEP Regional Office of Asia-Pacific, and Asian Development Bank are working together with the support of the government of Japan to develop a report about synergistic approaches to tackle planetary crisis and achieving the SDGs. And we're trying to build this report based on a lot of existing good practices. And we have realized that ocean is, of course, an important part of this project. And I'm so happy I came here today because I got a lot of good examples of, synergistic approach to tackle ocean issues. So I will be approaching many of you for soliciting your cases to this report. We're trying to launch this report in Bangkok in July 2026 when UNESCAP will organize a committee of environment development at the ministerial level. So please look forward to it. In relation to this, Japanese government is pushing for enhancing synergistic approaches to addressing sustainable development issues. And for that, my colleagues are working hard right now to finalize a resolution on synergies. So your support is always appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for these contributions, which have been really fantastic. It's wonderful to hear about all of the activity that's already happening, but also to understand more about some of the gaps and really understand the value that we can get from joining all of these efforts together. So if we can just pull up onto the screen, please, the slide. There's a QR code that we've got. Please feel free to scan this QR code, put your details in. We really want to keep in touch with you. And we definitely want to hear more detail about the work that you're doing. So please do scan that and let us know about what's happening. Stay in touch. This is a partnership of partnerships, and you are the partners. Now, I'd like to hand over for some closing remarks to Peter Thompson, the United Nations Secretary General's Special Envoy for the Ocean, who's been such a huge supporter of this work. So handing over to you, Peter. The podium's down, so do you want to go up onto the stage and take that?
Okay. Yeah, it's hot today, isn't it? God. Ambassadors have to wear suits and ties, sorry. I think tomorrow I'll wear a bula shirt like my Kaiwata here. It's been a fascinating discussion. Heidi, I'm going to look to you to shut me up because this is such an interesting topic. I could talk for hours on it, like Chris, and you all want to get some lunch. So, first of all, I just want to thank a few people. Obviously, UNEP and IOC, UNESCO, great what you guys are doing. More power to you. Keep it going. Nippon Foundation's not in the room, I don't think. I really want to thank them, so please pass on my thanks to them. They supported this, and they're going to be a huge part of the future on this program. And I want to thank my own country, Fiji. We got our resolution on coral through last night. And, that is a pollution issue. What's killing coral? Lots of things, but pollution's a big part of it. So that was great news coming out of the plenary last night. I also want to thank Economist Impact, because for me this meeting is about back to blue. A lot of you probably haven't even heard that expression. And I agree with what the professor was saying about long, complicated UN names. I mean, BBNJ, does anybody actually know what that stands for? I can tell you, but you don't need to know, just call it a High Seas Treaty. The same thing with what we're doing here. And I do think that Back to Blue, which was something that the Economist Impact brought in back in Lisbon. Jessica, where are you? Is that correct? It was Lisbon, wasn't it?
Yep.
That we were promoting Back to Blue. And that's catchy. And it's all about this thing of measuring all the pollution that's going into the ocean. You know, Henderson Island. Have any of you heard about Henderson Island? It's part of the British Pitcairn Island group. Henderson is probably one of the most isolated islands in the world, as far away from humanity as you can get. But if you go there, you will find a more dense plastic pollution collection than anywhere else you'll ever go. And scientific expeditions have gone there and attested that. The tens of millions of plastic pieces just washed up. And humanity is thousands of miles away from that island. They just happen to be in one of those gyres, and so all the plastic's ending up there. You know, there are places that I no longer go to for holidays. Beautiful, idyllic places with fantastic beaches that I used to go to when I was a young man. I don't go there now because it's sort of in the middle of my life. All of a sudden you're going for a swim in the surf and then wham, you get hit in the face by a baby's nappy or some food wrapping plastic or something. And then you analyze, where the current's coming from. You think, well, I'm just not coming back here again. This is disgusting, swimming at this beach. So, it affects our economies. Pollution is an economic matter as well. And then there's the health matter, microplastics. Everybody knows now, when you eat fish, you're eating microplastics, right? And they're in our bodies, go to the hospital, get it checked. Most of us have got microplastics in our body. The health industry, I would say, hasn't caught up with the game yet. We need to have much more research going into the health sector on what's the effect of that microplastic on humanity. What are we doing to our kids? So I would, in summary, I'd say that pollution, because some say that pollution has kind of dropped off the high table of global discussions, and there's an element of truth to that. But I would say that pollution is one of the greatest travesties that Homo sapiens has ever brought against nature, but also against ourselves, where it's all coming back to. Look, I often say, you've heard the mantra, no healthy planet without a healthy ocean. The ocean's health is currently measurably in decline, and I go through all the things, overfishing and ocean warming and deoxygenation and acidification, etc., and always end up with pollution. But if one journalist ever stood up to me and said, excuse me, where's the industry that you're referring to on pollution? The honest answer is I'd say, well, there are a few, but there's not one, and I'd have to fudge it. Because what this conversation has really identified today is that we're lacking that. We've got lots of good work going on around the place, but in terms of one big industry of what are we doing to the ocean, it's not there at the moment. And so we have to pull all that together. I was really happy to see Representative IAEA, always have trouble saying that one, but IAEA, been to the lab many times in Monaco, and you're doing great work, and the IAEA New Tech project. If you don't know about that, you should learn about it. That's a great measurement. It's only one aspect, or several aspects, but it's not the totality. We monitor by satellites and aircraft what we're doing, and we monitor eutrophication, things like that. But we need to pull it all together. And that's where Back to Blue comes in. This is a really big project which IOC, UNESCO, and UNEP are putting together. It's really big, and it's going to be able to do the job. And again, I thank Nippon Foundation. I don't think they're there 100% yet, but from what I understand, and I know the foundation very well, they're going to be part of it. Back to Blue, get used to that catchy phrase. As you heard, ocean pollution comes from many sources. And I loved your comment about, go to the source. But of course, the source is not the source. There's a hydrological cycle. And, that source is getting its source from the clouds, and that's getting it from the sea. I was brought up in a little town called Suva, It was a little town when I was young. It's now a big city. But we'd sit on the seawall there, and in the morning, blue skies. Every morning, blue skies. And then by midday, not midday, maybe mid-morning, cumulus clouds. By midday, they're moving across the harbor like battleships. By mid-afternoon, they've hit the mountains. Bam, tropical downpour, right? Thunder, lightning, drains turn to rivers every day. Drains turn to rivers, all goes into the sea, into the harbor, in fact, which is good. That's as nature intended it. That's why we have a gap in our coral reef. The fresh water kills the coral, and we have a nice gap for the sailing ships when they used to come in there. That's why the town is there. But today, what happens? Urbanization. You've seen it all around the world. Your little town becomes a city. And in your city, what do we do as humans? What do we do best? What we do best is pollute our environment. And so when that downpour comes and those drains turn into rivers and it all flows into the sea, what do you get with it? You get plastic, you get industrial waste, you get thousands upon millions upon millions around the world of cigarette butts every day going into the ocean because the downpour will carry them there. So we've got to, as you say, go to the source, but we've got to see it in that circular thing because everything in this world is circular. Poisoning the planetary environment is just not an option for humanity's long-term survival. So, we've got to get to it. I'm looking at you, Heidi. And, talking about Heidi, she made that very good point about, how we've got to elevate things to the back of a milk box on every family's breakfast table. I like that analogy. I also like the way you talked about partnership of partnerships. I think that's really nice, inclusive stuff. We've got to think that way. All of us have got to think that way. So I really do believe that Back to Blue will get us there. And I love the fact, what I love about it most of all is that fact that it's a long-term project. It's not happening tomorrow, folks. Our grandchildren are still going to be grappling with this problem, let's be real. But hopefully our grandchildren will be grappling with a much smaller problem, and they will be implementing things that we've put in place which, really do clean up the ocean. So it's wonderful to see that because in my experience, progress is a long plod, especially when it's multilateral like this, where we're trying to influence all the countries of the world. It takes time. And you have to put things in place that good people, good countries, good organizations know what the right thing to do is, and then just keep pushing in the right direction. And slowly you get there. I mean, the High Seas Treaty, for example, took us decades to get there. But you saw that plod, you knew that you were going to get there eventually because it was the right idea. It had logic, and you had the right people pushing, and we got there. So, I see everything in terms of being a grandfather. I've got 4 granddaughters, and all my work is for them, really. They think it's for the UN, but actually I'm doing it for them because when I look at my 5-year-old in the eyes every morning, and I imagine what her life's going to be like when she gets to my age, and if it's a 3-degree world, even if it's a 2-degree world by then, it's not going to be a nice place to be living on this planet for them. It's going to be about survival, plagues, wars, wildfires, etc. So, everything that we do, every one of you in the room, I say this to you, everything that we do today, if it's the right thing, in the right direction, in terms of trying to make that future better for our grandchildren. Even if we just change that 2.5 degrees, I think we're at now, down to 2.4 degrees, that's going to make so much better life for them. Obviously we want to get that down to 1.5 degrees. But that's why we are doing this stuff. We're not doing it for us so we can have another overseas holiday or something. We're doing it for our grandchildren and our children. This is about intergenerational justice. The continuity, securing that continuity is what everything is about. That is the important point which I'd like to leave with you all today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thank you. And as Peter said, this really came from a conversation at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon and has grown from there. And at the Back to Blue initiative and Economist Impact, we had the very easy and fun job of being the incubator, but IOC, UNESCO and UNEP now have the very difficult job of taking all of your work and turning it into action. So for the very final comment, I'd like to hand back to Heidi Savelli and Henrik Enervoldsen, who just respond to some of your comments and give you some next steps.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, everybody. Just a few quick remarks back on some of the very valuable feedback you have given us. The comments about including integrating indigenous knowledge and as a data source and also in assessment, be reassured that that is part of the strategy. We won't be able to present all details. It's very much there and it's built into both in the strategies of both UNEP and IOC. Thank you very much for the beautiful expression, make our oceans smile. That touched me also because, as Peter just said, having easy, understandable ways to refer to what we want to do is very important. There was a couple of you that asked for that we ensure that we really draw on, involve, and make use of all the UN family. Rest assured that in particular IMO, FAO, the Atomic Energy Agency have been and are part of this design process and will be indispensable in delivering. Also, thank you for your focus on how to involve the next generation. We do have a component in our proposal on ocean literacy. We didn't have time to include it here or present it, but it's very much there. Then finally, the very good remarks on the need for standards, for protocols, and so forth, and for fair and shared data is also central in what we are working on. This is essential, and we are going again to use multi-agency approach to deliver that through the joint mechanism of GESAMP. And that comes along with capacity development efforts.
Thanks, Henrik. And then to add is also the storytelling element crucial and is very much part of the thinking around the campaign. How to best communicate, how to engage people and make things matter, for sure. And of course, the prevention and addressing the pollution, we are very much focusing from a prevention angle. So try to reduce the pollution from happening in the first place. And this is from source to sea. So fresh water, of course, we will be looking at that as well. We envisage it so that all countries can be part of this and the future solution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're almost at the end, but just to close us out, again, thank you so much, everybody, for really participating in such an active way. It's fantastic to see so many people here still at the end, engaged, active. You know, this is the first time I have seen people not tapping away on their laptops and really listening and being part of it. So thank you so much. To finish us up, please welcome Antoinette Taus, the UNEP Goodwill Ambassador. She's going to give us a final performance supported by her brother Tom, and following this, please join us for some refreshments on the lawn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind introduction. Excellencies, honorable and distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, heroes of our Earth, and of course, our shared ocean. I am Antoinette Taus, actress, singer, and host, and Goodwill Ambassador for the UNEP Environment Program. And I'm truly grateful to be here today with my brother, DJ Tom Taus. And we are so grateful to be here with you for UNEA 7 all the way from the Philippines. Now, the Philippines is the center of the Center for Marine Biodiversity in the world, at the heart of the Coral Triangle. And as someone that has been born and raised in the Philippines, truly the ocean and our seas are deeply intertwined in the lives of every single Filipino. And this is something we share with coastal communities all over the world in island nations. And the Philippines is also known, sadly, to be one of the most vulnerable countries in the world, if not the, to the triple planetary crisis: climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss. But we are also a country of inspiration, of inclusive solutions, and community-led action. Women, youth, indigenous peoples, and local communities coming together to build a better world for for people and the planet. And today we are truly honored to perform an original song that my brother produced and that I composed. And this is inspired by the incredible work of the UN Environment Program. And it is actually called For People and Planet. This also features one of my deep passions, the SDGs. So we've also got the SDG rap coming up in this song. And I hope that should you guys want to stand up, sing along, or clap along, please feel free to do so. All right, to our tech team, thank you so much for your support. We can play the music and, of course, set up the tech. Thank you so much. Discover all the world's pretty colors, candy-colored skies and rainbow hues. Discover the incredible wonders from our big blue waters, a great green all the beautiful layers in each other that lighting. Leave no one behind. It's time to act now. We can't waste time. No time. It's time to come together to change the world for better. It's the only way to save what truly matters. So together, let's discover all the wonderful ways to make things better. Hold on a bit longer. The world may seem darker, but we've still got you. Each other, all we have is each other. And together, we'll heal from this too. It seems to hurt more as time goes by. No matter what, don't quit, just try, go fly. 'Cause we've all got superpowers to change the world for better. It's the only way to say what truly matters. So together, let's discover all the wonderful ways to make things better. Here's the global goals: eradicate poverty across the world, zero hunger for every boy and girl, good health, well-being, coast to coast, quality education we need the most, gender equality for all to see, clean water, sanitation, clean energy, decent work, economic growth, industry, infrastructure, innovation, reduced inequalities for every nation, sustainable cities and communities, responsible production and consumption, please, climate action, yes we can protect life below water and life on land, peace, justice, strong institutions, partners for the goal of the solution, 17 goals, one master plan. lit inside you all this time. Go shine, discover each other, be kind to one another, and the planet too. Thank you very much for all that you do for people and the planet.